if you look into my house right now, I've got mirrors every single place because affirmations are big. I walk around and I look at the mirror, I'm like, I'll blame this one. Many things that people are giving to us as doctrine today on the basis of their experience, it's really just stem from the fact that they're not making enough money. So that is why I don't let anybody advise me, because I go like, I think you're too broke to advise me. You are, yeah.
Your husband doesn't love you. He just doesn't have the money to fund his temptations.
Yeah. You can go to the gym, you can start running, you can start, you're out of shape yourself. And you want to make 1 million rands. Like, for me, it makes no sense. Like you are, like simple things like that. So invest in yourself when you possible.
So it's more than just money.
It's more than just money. Did you see what we did there? Did you see what we just did there? It's more than just money. It's people. So what I'm saying, what I'm basically.
So you guys get to see what happens behind the scenes before actually an episode comes out, A lot more than this does happen. It's just that the team was a bit prepared today. We've got an audience. Those of you who are watching on YouTube and are wondering who I'm speaking to, I'm speaking to an audience of people that are seated here to listen to this conversation being recorded. If you are watching this for the first time and you're online and you haven't subscribed to the It's More Than Just Money Movement channel, please do subscribe. We have noticed that a whole lot of people watch the content and they don't subscribe. So it simply means you guys love it. So just simply subscribe so that we can have more people that are on the audience and more guests of quality are going to be wanting to come to the platform. Like the guest that we have today, Mr. Thapelo Jonas, who's an entrepreneur, business owner, as well as somebody who invests in property and invests in stocks as well. Those are the cornerstones of wealth creation. I say in my book that the cornerstones of wealth creation are business, property, shares. And as I was listening to your story, I think you live that. It's not just something you were saying, and mainly because I've been following your story for quite some time. It's been inspirational, and perhaps you can tell your story better than me. You say that it started when you met your wife, but I say it started before that, because before you even met her, there must have been ingredients that you put in you that she saw, because there's no way she would have married a loser, and there's no way she would have seen a winner when you haven't invested that within yourself. So where does it actually start?
Sure. Thank you so much, Witty. I really appreciate this opportunity. I think as you correctly put it, I grew up really an ambitious kind of kid. All through my life, I've always wanted better. But the problem with better sometimes is that, when you are around people who are really winning at life, right? Your standards for better obviously just they basically go onto another level, right? And I keep on saying that my money story or my wealth story met with my wife or when I met my wife, because when I met her, I feel it's actually the time I really got to discover who I was. I got to discover what I could do, the kind of contribution I could bring to the world, the kind of dent I could really just, bring into this ecosystem, called life. And I think that particular story is the story that is basically more important. So my story, in short, just a typical boy that grew up in a beautiful place called Thapelo. It's a really big township, 50 kilometers east of Bloemfontein. And obviously I went to school there. I grew up in Thapelo, went to school there, and came to Bloem a little bit later, obviously for the higher centers of education are really in bloom if you live in places like Thapelo. So my first qualification was an E-Tech software engineering diploma. So I thought I was going to be a computer
E-Tech?
programmer. Yeah, I thought I was going to be a computer programmer. All right.
I know B-Tech.
Yeah. So there's
Which
an
one is
E-Tech,
E-Tech?
electronics. So the technology.
Why are you guys
part of
laughing?
it.
I'm asking. But if you don't know something, you must ask.
Yeah. So it's the e-technology software engineering diploma, because at some point, believe it or not, I wanted to be a computer programmer, right?
Was this a CUT?
No. So it was at a private FET that we have. I think it was called NIIT at the time, National Institute of Information Technology. And so after I did this particular program, I go and teach IT in a school in Stexbraid, for 2 years. So this is 2004, 2005. And 2005, I'm not really fulfilled as a teacher. I love teaching, but I'm not really fulfilled over here, right? So long story short, I get an opportunity to, go and do lecturing in Kimberley. And this is really where stuff, began to happen for me. So when I'm there, I go and join a big church, a local church. I'm over there. I've always been a singer at church. I've always been a church boy all my life. And then at church, at rehearsal, one Thursday evening, I'm busy doing my own thing, and I'm, there's a voice behind me. And I'm like, no, there's no way this girl is speaking this beautiful Sotho. She's not coming from this place. And, that particular night, I get to, speak to her. And I realized that she's really also a Free Stater, come from the Free State. And we just hit it off. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at this particular girl. I'm like, this girl is out of my league. There's no way this girl, likes the kind of guy like me. There's no way.
Qualify.
I don't qualify. Like, I don't qualify. Right. So at that point in time, I knew that she was really out of my league. And so I didn't really know how low of a self-esteem I had at that point in time until that moment, until that particular moment, because that particular moment when she was sitting in front of me, or standing in front of me rather, I didn't realize how just lowly I thought of myself. And because the first thing that came into my mind was like, there's no way that this kind of girl would love somebody like me, right? People don't know the story, but for 4 weeks, this girl really liked me. She really liked me. And I could tell she likes me because the following, she wanted to spend time with me. And I'm like, there's no way, man. There's like no way. Girls like this, girls like this don't do, they don't do anything with guys like us. Like, you know what I mean? So it was really just my trauma. I really, at that point in time, I had a very low, complex. I think I really, the inferiority complex was really rife. But four weeks later, I'm now at a point where I'm like, girl, I love you. I love you. I've enjoyed spending time with you. I want you to be my wife. But there are a lot of things that I need to fix in my life in order for that to actually happen, right? So first, I need to go speak to your mother, right? Because I understand that your mother is expectant that, my daughter would bring a man someday and, who's going to become a husband. But I need to go speak to her that I love you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, but it requires me to be a different person. I can't feature in your future as the man I am right now. And that particular man I knew at that point in time that really needed to go back to school a little bit, really needed to go, work on...
From E-Tech to B-Tech now.
Yeah, now. Yeah, so it's from E-Tech to B-Com now.
To B-Com,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, so it's E-Tech to B-Com now, right? And I went to go speak to her mom, and I said to her mom, I love your daughter, I want to spend the rest of my life with her, but I really feel that I needed to do a couple of things. So I need to go back to university to go and do 2 university degrees. And I really believe that if you can give me 5 years, I can really give her, the life of her dreams. And her mom says to me, I don't know you from above soap, but I really believe in the man, that you are saying, right now. And for that, just that, right? So I tell people all the time, when I was at the University of the Free State, I don't even know where, all this places where young people go to. I don't even know those kind of places. Because all I was thinking about at that point in time was I needed to finish this university degree. I needed to finish with school because I had a goal that was waiting for me, right? Yeah. I had a goal that was waiting for me, right? So even to this day, I don't even know where your rec farms are. I hear all of these things that people talk about at the varsity.
You never grooved.
I never grooved.
Hey, she disciplined you, man.
No,
Continue.
Yes, it's sad, bro. It's sad. So I was so serious that at the end of my first year, I was chosen. I was literally, invited to the Golden Key International Honor Society. After my first year, that's how serious I was with school. So I was in the top 15% of the academic achievers of my department. I was that guy. I was really very nerdy, and I really became that particular guy. So long story short, 5 years.
Had you been that guy before you met your wife?
I always think that I was that guy. But she just brought that person alive.
Let me rephrase the question.
Yeah.
Were you an A student with potential?
No.
Yes. So
Oh, no.
So
I'm glad to clarify that. Which I've always known that I'm a C student, man. I'm a C student. I'm really a C student with A+ personality.
And she's always been an A student.
She's always been an A student.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're so right. So she's an A student. I'm a C student with A+ personality, right? And so 5 years come, things begin to happen for me. I married Mampoi the 30th of November 2013.
Yeah.
This was 2013 when I married her, and I made her my wife. I took her to Mauritius.
How old are you at that point?
I'm 27. I think at that time I'm 27. I'm 27. I take her to Mauritius. I think our wedding, and it really cost me a lot of money, but because I promised her that these are the things that I wanted to do for her. So I married her in November that particular year. That very same year, we went to Mauritius for our honeymoon. And we bought our first property that very same year. 2013 was the year that we bought our very first property. That was us. And at that point in time, I come in, we've bought all of these things. She comes from a different, background. Her mom taught her that, every single thing that you want, you've got to make sure that you save for it, and so that you can buy it. I come from a background where my mother taught us that, if you can afford to make an installment every single month, we can pay for this thing. So I want to buy furniture, with credit. I want to buy every single thing for the house and whatever. And she says no, right? So even at that point in time, I'm now learning, right? I'm learning that yes, we're making these big moves, but now our modeling, because our programming is really just in line with with three things: verbal programming, what we heard, modeling what we saw, and specific incidents in our lives. So my modeling was that my mom was the dominant person where finances are concerned, right? So I wanted to buy every single thing, via credit. But my wife was like, there's no way we're doing that.
Bretlos.
We're those guys. We're those guys. We're the guys that know Venia Bretlos. We literally know all of those things. So that's where my story really started. I tell people all the time, I didn't start out wanting to be rich. I didn't start out wanting to be wealthy. I just really wanted to feature, in my wife's future. I really wanted a future with her. And even to this day, I tell people all the time that if she decides to leave me tomorrow, right, the question that I'm going to ask her is, where are we going? Because if
she's picking, you're picking with her.
If she's picking, I'm picking. And not only that, but if she decides that she doesn't love me anymore, I'm going to hotspot her. I literally would say, don't worry, if your love is run out,
I've got enough.
We'll use it. Because the truth of the matter is, I love the man I am when I'm with her.
Sure.
Right? That's my money story. That's where it all started for me. I loved the man that I am. I loved the dreamer that I was when I was with her. I loved the picture. I loved the images of my imagination. I loved what my imagination could now fashion, right, as the possibilities of the future when I was with her. I loved anticipating, the next 20 years, the next 40 years when I was with her. My life became brighter, right? It became brighter when I was with her. And that is really where it started for me.
You know why? Oh yeah, let's give him a round of applause. That deserves a round of applause. So maybe I'll tie in a question that's surrounded around, and you will understand this, right? How marriage plays a role in helping people build wealth versus how having a broken family, a broken system when it comes to family, actually takes away from our wealth.
Sure.
And then maybe get into the two, because you come from a broken family.
Yeah.
But a broken family did not come out of you. See
Yes,
what I
sir.
did there?
Oh, I see it. See it.
Right?
Love it.
But which is something you probably intentionally did for yourself because you knew where you came from and you knew what it could be for you to actually get into family. I don't know if you knew that marriage could play a role in helping you build wealth. But tell me where you were in terms of your mindset and how it played a critical role in that.
Yeah, so one of the things that I heard from you a little bit earlier was so profound that, you think of your life in terms of 20 years. I tell people all the time that even from the day I met my wife, I had 10-year plans, 20-year plans, 30-year plans. I knew exactly 50 years from now where we would be. Right. So the reason I'm telling you this because I anticipated, I knew every single thing, where my marriage was concerned. I knew exactly what that would present, for me. Many people, get married for love, right? And it's good to get married for love. Many people ignore, the business side of marriage, right? Many people really just ignore the economic value, right? The economic, downside, for some people, literally for marriage. And that is why I've always put myself in the place where I never want to become the weaker. I never want to become somebody else's weakest link. I never wanted to be my wife's weakest link because I know families where you look. I don't know if you guys have seen those. Like you look at this particular partnership, you look at this marriage, you go like, that woman could have been far. Had she just not married that guy. The problem is she just married that guy. That guy is the problem. And nobody says it. Nobody says anything, right? Because we marry for potential, not for pattern. Right?
Sure. Say that again.
Yeah.
We marry for potential,
Many
not for
people
pattern.
marry
What do you mean?
Yeah. So potential in itself, the symmetry is full of tombstones. We've got many, we've got many people that are dead who wanted to be far. We thought they were going to go far, but potential in and of itself is unpredictable. Right? It's unpredictable. You cannot count on it. You can't put money on it. If you are a betting man, you cannot bet on potential because potential is unpredictable. The people who are dead today, right? And we thought they were going to go far, but potential is unpredictable. I never bet on potential. I bet on pattern because people have got potential to go far, but they've got a pattern of squandering money when money comes at the end of the month. This particular person has got a potential of being a one woman kind of a man, right? But he's pattern. If we look at the pattern, we can tell, like, this guy doesn't do well with one girl. Like, we know. Everybody knows. Right? So
a ladies' man.
Yeah, he's a ladies' man, right? So we ignore patterns, literally in favor of potential.
Or a woman.
Yeah, it's also the same thing. So what I'm trying to basically say, Witty, is I knew exactly that I never wanted that broken family, right? To come out of me. I wanted my kids to grow up in the family where mommy is there, daddy is there. I wanted my kids, I know, I tell people this story that when I was in high school, I wanted to go to this particular school. Man, it's a cheap school. I won't mention the name, right? It's a very, very cheap school. My parents couldn't afford to take me to that particular school.
Why?
Because there was no money. So that is the only recollection I have, or what they said that day was that, that school was going to cost them a lot of money, right? So I'm a public school, kid all my life, right? I just wanted that to happen. I thought, my friends, going to this particular school, why can't they take me to that school, right? I remember hearing that, money is a problem. And I said to myself, someday I'm going to be somebody's husband. I'm going to be somebody's father, right? And even today, I've got a 7-year-old kid who has never had no from me. Not once. If he wants something, he gets it. Right, because the problem I'm having is...
Chief, you've got 2 kids.
Yes, sir.
Why are you saying 7?
Yeah, so what happens is 7 is so critical because the 7-year-old, up until you are 7, you have not developed so doctors will tell you that you've not developed the part of the brain that critiques information. So a lot of us, the way we are when we are adults, right, is because up until we hear no so many times. We grow up in scarcity, right? So much that, so we are, our thinking is shaped literally up until 7. So you've got to be very careful what you do to your child or say to your child up until that age, because so my kid right now literally grows up in this possibility thinking environment, this abundance thinking kind of environment. And many kids don't grow up, or they don't really understand why they don't have that particular mindset. It's because when they were young, if we take you back, right? In my life coaching sessions, when we take you back, whether we're doing any technique, whether it's through hypnosis or whatever, we go back. Many people, it stems from the fact that somewhere along the line, somebody said to you, you can't. You cannot have this. No, money doesn't grow on trees. Why do you do that? What do you think we are? Do you think that we are the bank? So all along, every single thing in my life has revolved around that, to say, I'm going to be that kind of a dad, right? So both my kids understand that, we are people of means. We can afford, a lot of things. I've given them options that I never had, right? My wife knows that. And so what I'm trying to basically say to you is, I have always understood that the labor of two, right, is better than, it's really better than.
You read the Bible.
I'm a theologian.
Two is better than one.
I'm a theology student. So my point is, it's key that we understand the marriage side of the business side of marriage, the economic side of it.
But before we talk about the economic side, which we will talk about, right? And we'll also, I've got a couple of questions around property, around money, that people have also written down here. The self-esteem part, there was a point in your life where you realized how low your self-esteem was, when you basically judged yourself, that how can a woman like this even love a guy like me?
Yes, sir.
Right? So which speaks to self-esteem. What was the cause of that, and how did you repair it? Because now it's repaired.
Yes, sir.
Your self-esteem is on steroids.
Another level. It's on another level.
You match me, my chief.
Yeah, I'm there, bro. I'm there.
I can see.
I'm there. Right. And it's such an interesting observation that is made, because a lot of times we don't talk about these kind of critical things. I came across a book written by a plastic surgeon, right? Not even a psychologist. His name is Dr. Maxwell Maltz. I don't know if you guys have read the book Psycho-Cybernetics, right? If you have not read that book, please make sure that you read it, right? I came across this particular writing, I think it was in 2020, when I was and this really just coincided with a lot of the work that I've done in the past couple of years. So he says every single person has got what we refer to as a self-concept or self-image. Everybody, calls themselves something. I'm extroverted, I'm introverted, I am this, I'm that, and whatever. But this ties with the image that you hold of yourself, right? And I've seen so many people, they carry around this low self-concept, of themselves. And I was that particular guy. And I realized that, the day you realize that the game of life is an internal game, right? You're going to realize that everything you've gotten, everything you've attracted in your life is really tied to that particular self-concept, right? So I had to deal with it, right? So what I basically did was I started basically with with this mind, so I'm now known as what we call the mindset coach and whatever. I started finding techniques, like affirmations was like the biggest thing. So if you look into my house right now, I've got mirrors every single place because affirmations are big. I walk around and I look at the mirror, I'm like, I'll blame this one. So affirmations were big for me. So I built my self-esteem using affirmations, visualizations, and really just acknowledgements. And this was the thing I did, and I did that quite often. And I would basically just go and say, this is who we are. So I had to introduce myself the way I wanted to be, the way I wanted to be known to my subconscious mind. So at the root of it all, it's just poor programming on the side of your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind really believes that you're not that. And the truth is you are all that and more.
Sure. And then when you look at what self-image does, right? What do you think it did for you in terms of wealth creation? Because you don't come from wealth.
Yeah.
But again, you made sure that you build wealth for yourself over a period of time, right? But it's mainly centered around now the thoughts that you held about yourself.
Yes, sir.
And the kind of capabilities you had. You said even earlier, when you went to a specific company, you said you do not want a salary, you want shareholding. I mean, there must be a certain kind of belief and trust in yourself to say, I'm good enough to deliver and I'm good enough to get the shares. I don't want the money. I want the shares, and I'm thinking long term, I'll be able to take care of myself because I'm me.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Right? So what do you think is the critical role that played for you, that self-esteem? Because when you look at Black people, because they did not grow up in much,
Yes, sir.
there's that thing that says, I'll make money 2 weeks and then I'll have to keep looking for money. They're always looking for money.
Yeah.
They don't get to a point where there's abundance,
Yeah.
where you don't feel worthy enough to just have a lot.
Yeah.
There's just abundance, right? Because you don't feel worthy.
Yeah.
Because that speaks to you as a person, you as a community. But you've mastered the part where you've healed the broken child.
Yeah.
We talked about traumas earlier on together, privately, you know.
Yeah.
You intentionally worked on healing those traumas, and self-esteem is part of it as well. You know, how did that, and maybe let's make it a present question. How is that helping you?
Sure.
And why is it important for the people that are here and the people that are watching to be intentional about developing a proper self-image and self-esteem?
Yeah. So what I do, Witty, most of the time, when I studied the game of money, when I was looking at the game of money, I go study the game and then I come back and bring it to me, right? So the first thing I realized is money follows attention, right? Money follows attention. People that have got attention, money only follows attention, right? And it's the one thing that I learned very, very early on. And I said to myself, if money follows attention, at some point that attention, I need to make sure that I bring attention to myself, right? Somebody must know who Thapelo Jonas is, right? Somebody must understand that. So my whole idea with me going to radio, is every single place now where I go, when I tell them my name is Thapelo Jonas, people tell you that I will. That's the first thing I'm going to tell you. Hi, my name is Thapelo Jonas. When I extend my hand and I say my name is Thapelo Jonas, I'm so confident in that particular name. I'm so confident. I know how powerful that name is.
The valuable one.
I know that name is valuable. I know how valuable that name is. So what I did was I realized. So it was not self-esteem for me. It was not really about money. I knew when I have got attention, the minute I can literally just reconcile myself to the fact that money follows attention, right? And I make sure that I build, right? I build myself, solidly. I build myself well. I know.
Wait. But if you are broken, do you want attention? It's very important that you know why.
Yeah.
I know money is attention.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have the same mindset when it comes to that.
Sure.
But I want to assist someone that's watching this, to say, I'm already broken. I don't want people, because it's more the reason why people don't want attention.
Yeah.
They think whatever they're feeling inside, somebody's gonna see it.
Yeah.
So they don't want to put a spotlight on
Yeah.
it. Right? So you and I, although we've been broken, although we know failures exist, we don't mind putting ourselves out there. Because you're like, okay, whatever happens, I still have me.
Yeah.
Like, this thing can be broken, but I've got me, I'll fix it.
Yeah.
But some people are saying, with what I'm feeling on the inside of me, I don't want other people looking at me because they might see what I've been hiding.
Yeah. So Willie, and here's the thing. If you've read my book, Made to Win, those of you guys that have probably ordered it on Take a Lot, you will remember one chapter in the book is titled "Discover Your Ignorance." Right? Discover your ignorance. So what I did, I sound like a broken record here, but it's important that people really understand this. That I never ever put myself out there until I close my gaps, right? I didn't want them to say I'm not educated. So what do I do? I go to school. I didn't want them to say English ngana ya hai ya baisa.
Yeah.
Then I got myself mirrors, right, in my house, and I began to every keynote where I was invited to literally be a keynote speaker. When people heard it, I was hearing it for the 1,000th. Maybe for the 100th time, right? Because I had really spoken to myself. I'd looked at myself in the mirror and practiced how the delivery, how this was going to be, be received by other people.
So you did this interview before you did it.
I did.
On the mirror.
I did.
Hey, witness.
I did. It's so. This is what I do this all the time. So people wonder like all the time. When everybody that comes into my house will say, "But teacher, why do you have mirrors everywhere?" I've got mirrors because I had to go deal with my ignorance. So I literally closed my my skill deficiencies. I had to go close my academic deficiencies. I closed the relationship. You see, I wanted them to. So, what I do today is like, okay, so do you know Witness Mdaka? I'm like, yeah, Witness is my friend. Right, so I'll put out a number. I'm like, do you want me to give you his number? I won't give it to them. but here's my point. My point is, you see, relationships can also be a gap that you need to go deal with. So what I'm saying is, before you go put yourself out there, go close your gaps. It's what I did. What I did was, I really didn't, you guys did not hear about me until I closed all of those gaps. I closed my academic gaps. Today, you must hear people talk about me. Anything they can say, oh, he's arrogant. Is this and that. But if they question the legitimacy of the things I talk about and the things I have, anybody else will be able to tell you exactly what I do, how I did it. They can tell you my story without my involvement. Why? Because I was intentional before I came to the spotlight to say what I want to do is I want to make sure that I close those gaps. So right now, when you are feeling like you still have got gaps, deal with those kind of gaps. Because the problem we're having today is we've got people that are on the spotlight, but because they didn't deal with their gaps, we are listening to them when you go like, no, you shouldn't have done this now. Like, why did you rush to come here? So that is the problem that we're dealing with especially in our industry. Because in the industry, what is happening now is people have attention. Everybody has got the spotlight is on them, right? And when it's on them, it really becomes a problem because people have not dealt with their gaps. So in discovering your ignorance, you realize like self-esteem is maybe a problem. Get a mentor that can help you with healing your past trauma. Get somebody that can help you with regards to that, because that particular process has really enabled me to build my wealth in such a short space of time.
As you're talking, I'm thinking of a joke to myself. One guy said, "Why are you listening to this guy? He couldn't keep a marriage."
Sure.
And for me, it's because I was not talking about marriage.
Sure.
I was talking about business.
Sure.
I had an immediate answer and said, okay, but what I'm talking about has nothing to do with marriage.
Sure.
You understand? And it's true what you're saying, because people are going to look for a hole to poke.
Yeah.
There must be something. There must be.
Yeah.
And what I'm getting from you is, as they are poking, that's feedback to you.
Yeah.
I'm poking, I'm saying you're not educated.
Sure.
You're like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Let me fix the education.
Yes, sir.
And somebody comes and says, you don't speak well.
Yeah.
And then you go and you close that gap.
Yes, sir.
I don't speak well, it's fine, I'm going to get a mirror.
Yeah.
So you put the mirrors.
Sure. Yeah.
You close that gap.
Yeah.
So I love that so much. And which one makes me also want to ask this question. Now you have closed the gaps for yourself.
Yeah.
And you're in a position where you can start building, whether it's relationships, whether it's a business, whether it's property, whether it's investing. What made you then start with the business part and the stocks part and not necessarily with the property? Because that was the easiest. You had a pay slip, Chief.
Yeah. So I always hear you say that, like, right? And what I think, the problem with many of us is that we've got the pay slip, but we don't know what to do with the pay slip. Right.
Oh,
yeah. So every single time when I hear you say that, I go like, it's one thing to know that you've got the pay slip. Everybody knows they've got the pay slip, but nobody really knows what to do with the pay slip, because until someone has taught you what to do with the pay slip that you have is really the problem. So I think at that point in time, so those of you guys that really know that I'm a nerd, right? So I read 2 or 3 books every single week. I'm a bookworm. I'm an avid reader. I read ferociously. I'm really, really that bad when it comes to reading. So the first person I really, came across in as far as, this is concerned is Warren Ingram, right? Warren Ingram teaches, in his book, Become Your Own Financial Advisor, right? That there are 4 things that you need to do with money. So right there. So this was like maybe 2000, so maybe like 2008, I'm reading this particular, 2008, 2009, I'm reading these books and whatever. My point is, at that point in time, I wanted stuff that was, stuff that I could understand quite easy. I understood business. Business was the one thing that I understood very easy. So I said to myself, well, the easiest place to park the money, because for the past 50, 60 years, right, stocks have performed really better than any other asset class, in as far as this is concerned. So I'm like, this is the safest place to go put money. So I do that, right? When I got into business, I really understood, because when you do business, you only become good with business when you do business, right? So all of these things are now happening, and all of a sudden they're presenting me with a problem. They're presenting me with a problem that I'm making the income, right? And when you're making the income, the problem in this country, there are only two things that are really, you guaranteed. It's really guaranteed that you will die, and it's guaranteed that you'll pay tax, right? So how do we deal with the other one? So how do we deal with the fact that now you're now paying exorbitant amounts of tax, because you are now making money from multiple sources. You're making money from this and that, and it's good to now say, all right, so what do we do? So one of the things I tell people all the time, right? Unless you are a witness, Mdaka, and whatever, don't start with property. Start with business. Business is.
I started with business.
Yeah, but you see, what happens is a lot of times people look at us, right? And they've got their own deduction of what how you're doing what you need to be doing.
Right.
So my point is, right? Property becomes the place where we park money, right? We get to park money, but tie yourself to an income generating activity, right? Which most often takes the form of business, right? So I would rather open up more businesses, so that I can take more money and call the Thapelo Jonas of this world and say, dude, so which deal, or where are we putting this money on this particular deal and whatever. So it for a typical somebody, this is what we want to do. So in coming back to the question that you basically asked, it's key. I think it's quite important that people really understand the order of things. The order of things for me has always been stock. Easy for me to go park money, right? But I know that if I can tie myself, and here's the thing, and this is the part that is interesting, and I'm sure the audience will really agree with me when it comes to this thing, right? You can eat out 2 times every single week, and you go like, maybe it's expensive, right? Or 3 times a week, you go like, it's expensive. And then all of a sudden, you've got a stream of income, right? That now makes that eating out 2-3 times a week, like, okay. And then you've got a third stream of income. You go like, so why am I not eating 5 times? Why am I not eating out 5 times a week and whatever? So bottom line is, many things that people are giving to us as doctrine today on the basis of their experience, it's really just stem from the fact that they're not making enough money. So that is why I don't let anybody advise me, because I go like, I think you're too broke to advise me. You are. Yeah, it sounds arrogant. It sounds arrogant and pompous. But many people are trying to give us, they're trying to make the experience doctrinal. They're making doctrine out of experience. That it's law. Like,
you know what's crazy about what you're saying,
yeah.
right? When I was going through divorce, so I go home, I set my family down, I tell them, hey, this thing is not working anymore.
Sure.
Then my grandmother says to me, Pela, now you can't eat anything in the house, eh?
Sure.
Pela, you can die if you do that. You know how grandmothers
are. Yeah.
So that started a cycle where I was eating out every day, literally for 3 years.
Yeah.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner, out every single day, starting 2021. And it became a pattern.
Sure.
And then I realized later, I'm like, why do I eat out every day?
Yeah.
Then I realized that pattern started when I was getting divorced. And that could have easily been doctrine to me, to tell other people, eat out 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And also going out for dinner. But it's because me, I was told not to eat at home.
At home, yeah.
And now I was doing this thing as a way of protecting myself, because I was told that.
Yeah.
And I'm agreeing with you when you say one's experience can now possibly turn into a doctrine.
Yeah.
But now I don't do it anymore.
Yeah, and I love that you're not doing it. You're not doing it anymore.
No.
Many people who are speaking to you about money shouldn't be speaking to you about money. And I want to say that because it's something that is important. Many people must go watch anybody else that's giving you advice right now on money, right? they've got no clue. They most people, and I tell this all the time, that people, and I'm going to say it, and I don't know if you guys will edit this out of this particular video.
We don't edit anything.
But
it's gonna go live.
Many poor people really don't have an idea. They don't really have they don't have an idea of what they're talking about. Because many of us think really we understand things, but we don't understand them until you've got money. There are people they're so full of themselves, they're so full of themselves, but poverty has made them, very humble.
They don't know they're full of themselves yet.
They don't know. They don't know that, right? So what happens is there are certain temptations that you've not really, because you have not had the resources to fund your temptations yet. You don't qualify to tell us the things that you're telling us right now, right? Wait until money comes. Wait until money comes, because when money comes, money really becomes the filter. It really reveals.
So what are you saying? Are you saying to the ladies, your husband doesn't love you? He just doesn't have the money to fund his temptations?
Yeah.
You must confirm when he's got money.
It's possible.
Right? This guy loves
it's
me.
Possible. It's possible.
He's here. Almost at home.
It's possible.
The money to fund the temptations is there, but he's here.
I said this to my wife. When I was broke, and when we came to some level of money, I said to her, right, don't believe me. Believe me when I tell you I love you. Believe me when I tell you I love you.
Don't believe a broke man when he says he loves you.
Oh yeah, now I'm coming to that, because that's something that's so important. So I said to her, it's fine to believe me, right? But what happens is, only get to bet on that. Only get to bet on that once I have made it. Because once I have made it, and I'm now here, and I literally have got options to do anything that I want right now, right? And I'm still here, then you can tell, like, okay, so he's the man of his word, right? Anybody else, my network will tell you, the only thing I don't like men do, I don't like a man who's not a man of his word, right? Your word must become your honor, right? I'm that big, I'm that big, and and for me, it goes back to that time as well, where I gave her my word. This is what I was gonna do, right? I gave my mother-in-law my word. I gave my children, my word. I said, this is what I'm gonna do. Yeah. So when you are not a man of your word, right? Even today, my friends will tell you, right? Anybody that's close to me, if you're not a man of your word, it becomes quite easily. Like, I can easily tell you, I think after this you are dead to me.
But TJ, tell me something. We can joke and say, don't believe a man, whatever. But how does a man who's watching this then say, I want to get to the level where TJ is, right? Or the level where I can comfortably say, I love my wife and nobody can question that because I've got the cash to fund my temptations, but I'm sitting here. Yeah. What are the practical steps that men can take? And then maybe let me take you back using business, property, or shares. But he's got nothing right now.
Yeah.
Where can he start?
It starts with them. I have a problem with that narrative, Witty, many times, because you see what happens is when we start telling men about business, stock and real estate, men quickly go and think that their solutions are outside of them. So they now go and say, maybe I must be doing something else outside. And I think the best investment to make is start investing in yourself. Right? A very simple thing. And I say, number one, when you are a man, it's one thing to say you want to start your own business, but you're not taking care of your body, right? You don't, it's like stuff that you can do. You can go to the gym, you can start running, you can start, you're out of shape yourself and you want to make R1 million. Like, for me, it makes no sense. Like you are, like simple things like that. So invest in yourself. When you don't have money to start a business, right? You start saying, all right, so are there PDFs that I can actually go and get, of books that really speak to, my personal development? I can get online and start really bettering myself, start developing myself, right? Guys, the secret is not in business. The secret it's in you. It's like, because this game is an internal game, right? So when we start giving people these avenues, it's easy for people to start thinking that I must start a business. But it's when I tell people all the time that and it's a funny story, my mentees will tell you, the only way that I could afford to pay myself to be able to drive a car that I'm driving right now was that The year before that, I was like, how can I afford this particular car? Right? And I'm like, I'm now developing myself. And in that particular process, I get this idea to go start a coaching company. And starting that particular coaching company, all of a sudden, I'm now in the mindset to now think that this is a possibility, not something I can get when I'm 50, but it's now something I can get now. So a lot of the businesses that I have were really just function or products of me, developing myself. So a lot of the things really come once you're fully developed. The minute you are now really okay, you are now attained a certain level of growth, right? A lot of these other things basically, they basically come. Then you realize, maybe I should invest in that. These opportunities maybe come up. Gary Vaynerchuk taught me many, many years ago that people is the game. It's not, the rest of it is really just lullabies that we use to rock ourselves to sleep. It's not, it's people. Guys, if you can win with people, you can never be broke a day in your life. People who are good with people, I can never ever be broke with. Never. So it's impossible.
So it's more than just money.
It's more than just money. Did you see what we did there? Did you see what we just did there? It's more than just money. It's people. So what I'm saying, what I'm basically trying to say to that particular guy that's watching us at home, right now is maybe it starts with it doesn't start with with you starting a business. It's you starting with just eating well tomorrow, right? Making sure that you now start running. You start doing those 5 push-ups or 10 push-ups. It's you now starting to say, now I'm investing in how I look, right? And things like that. Many people don't invest in themselves, right? And as a result, people don't really understand. I'm going to use rotten English here. People eat you before they eat your product.
Yeah, they eat me.
Yeah, people. It's rotten English.
Go deeper there, man.
But we need to make ourselves enticable. Literally to people before I came here. I invested in a beautiful cologne. I invested in how I look. I invested in how.
Yeah, you smell good. I can smell.
Yeah. But I invest in that because the truth is, you're thinking I'm coming to witness this event because you might give a couple of people hugs here. We don't want people living with the impression that he's good as a speaker, but hey, but the smell, man. The smell is a problem. So what I'm trying to say is, many men, right? Many men. The advice we should be giving men today.
Work on yourself.
To work on themselves. Sure. Really work on themselves. Because I think any man that has worked on themselves, eventually it's really a matter of time. The ideas come. Ideas really come. Every single thing that I've done is really not, and I think that's the message I'm trying to drive across. That it's really not this. It's not the businesses. It's not the stock. It's not the real estate. It's really just get to a place where you have worked on yourself. Once you have mastered yourself, right? Every single thing, because you're the only person that you have. And if they can take all of those things tomorrow, I know if I can become broke today, tomorrow I know exactly that in 6 months' time, I'll be exactly where I am now. Right? Why? Because it's every success is not it's recreatable. I can recreate it because I know how I made it. Right? And that's the part that most people really don't understand. So don't go and business is a high-hanging fruit. Don't go into business yet when you've not sorted yourself out. Sort yourself out, because once you do that, it really just becomes game over.
So it's basically working on yourself.
Yes, sir.
So I've got a question based on what one of the audience members asked. And it's more on the accessibility of funds when it comes to a home loan and a property, and how you can use the advantage of taking out money from a home loan at 11.5%, obviously borrowing against the property, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
That's refinancing what you were talking about, taking the money and investing it in something that's producing 20-25%. Can you provide clarification for them on that?
Yeah. Okay. So I think if you guys have followed Witness and myself, on Facebook, people are fighting us now on this. Your house is not an asset, it's a liability. You guys know that, right? It's like a big thing right now. Everybody else is really fighting us on, right? Your house cannot be an asset. How is that an asset? And this is what I did. So 2013, I buy this particular property, and it really, that's the one. I think that one post really just blew up, right? But this is the story. So I buy a house. I basically buy a house. At that point in time, I'm naive, and because I am a I'm a stasher, I'm a saver, right? My idea is I buy this house. I want to make sure that in less than 10 years, I'm done paying this. I'm paying this off. So what do I do now? So over and above what I'm supposed to pay, right, as basically as my bond payment, I go like, no, let me pay more on this thing because I need to get this done and whatever, right? Now somewhere along the way, this is what happens. I'm now learning about money with you, and as I'm learning about money, I now realize that, right, and there's a couple of things, and I want to explain it so well for people to really understand this. The bank is in the business of managing risk. They're not in the business of making us investors. They're not interested that Thapelo wants to become a property investor. They're not interested in that, right? So what happens is if you basically look at risk and look at interest, right? So what happens is, so they will charge you. They'll basically go and charge you, a lot less for a home loan, mainly because it becomes what we call that's basically a secured loan. It's secured against this particular asset, right? When we move a little bit further, you'll find that if I found the house at 11.5%, maybe the car will become 12 or 14%, because the problem with that is, even though it's a secured kind of a loan, but because this asset over here is it depreciates in value, they go like, well, how do we cover ourselves as a bank from risk point of view? So let's now charge a little bit of a little bit more interest over here. And then you go and say, right, but now I want a personal loan, I want a credit card and things like that, but those are not secured against anything, right? What happens when you don't pay it back, right? The bank goes like, okay, so we also just, it might not happen. So let's make sure that we charge this particular person, a lot. So most people are paying 17% on a personal loan. You can pay, sometimes over 20%, on that particular loan. The reason for that is, from the bank's perspective, we're not sure whether we can basically get this. So when I figured out that the bank really loves property, I'm like, okay, so no. I've been dumb for thinking that I want to finish this. I want to finish paying this thing. This thing can become the bank. I can literally make my house, this facility over here. It can really become the bank, right? So what do I do? Now I say, okay, so this particular property, I bought it at 1 point. The seller wanted 1.5. Our minds met at 1.35, right? And right there, I've not done anything over this thing. I'm not counting on appreciation. I'm like, okay, so maybe I'll have it paid up in less than 10 years. But now I've got money that I'm putting over in as far as this particular property is concerned. So in this facility, there is money, right? There is money in this particular facility. So now we sit in there, we go like, okay, so if this particular facility is really just governed by that, let's say 11.5%, which is the lowest interest rate, compared to, the things that I'm talking about. If there's this amount of money over here, how do I make sure that, this becomes, a lucrative kind of a thing for me, right? So you talk about refinance. I say, let me make it better then. If it's the bank, let me make it better. Let me make it bigger, right? Being in line with, making sure that I don't overcapitalize, right? I don't, but I just want to make sure that I make this more valuable. Because if I'm making this more valuable from the bank's perspective, their security is this thing. If they come and evaluate and they find that this particular thing is worth this much, but the equity, so over and above what I've basically paid over here, I owe them less than $1 million. I've now made this thing a 2.7, 2.8 million rands and whatever. I've got equity over here. This is now, I can easily unlock that particular amount of money for other projects, because as long as the bank is, finds the person that can stand as surety for that particular property, as long as there is security that they can, just tie to this particular, transaction over here, then we are now sorted. So what I think in explaining what I want to explain to that particular question is, number one, yes, your house might be a lifestyle kind of an asset. It might be a liability, but don't allow anybody else to just say that to you without understanding why. Right. So what I did was, over the years, the money that I've basically paid towards that particular property became the money that I could go to the bank and say, I want it back for something else. Right. Because as long as that property was there and it had now gained value, and as long as I still could pay, the whatever the new installment would be, the bank would still sort this out. So from that particular perspective, from that day, all I do now is I buy properties below market value. I literally fix them nicely. I make sure that they're basically nicely. I give them over to a tenant, make sure that they're managed, and I go back, using a strategy called the BRRR. It's called the BRRR strategy, right? So you just basically go back to the bank and say, let's look at your property.
So meaning, if you wanted to give the person a perspective, if you wanted to say you want to start a business now,
yeah,
or you want to buy a business, you can go to the bank and say, look at one of my properties. How much is it worth?
Yeah.
And they give you the value and say, how much am I owing? Say, for instance, on this one, you owe less than $1 million.
Yeah.
But you've got value of 2.8 million.
Yeah.
You can tell the bank, give me 2 million. Doesn't even matter what I'm going to do with it. It's my 2 million. I afford the repayments.
Sure.
They give it to you. You go and buy a business cash.
Yeah. It's exactly what we're doing. So there's a new, I can't say a lot on this, but there's a new short-term finance solution business that we're working on. But it's actually worked exactly.
The tender people come, they borrow money. You go to the bank, take your money, you borrow them money.
That's how it works.
They come pay you high.
That's how it works.
Yeah, he's scared to say it's tender people. Come to him. When you want money, come borrow money from him. He said it.
I don't want to be left with the aftermath. But it's exactly what that does. It puts us in the position where we can have money for everything. And that's why I said it when I was telling you guys my story.
Tell them, even if the 250,000 for the holiday overseas, you can pull it from your bond and go on holiday for free, man.
But no.
I'm saying if you want.
Yeah.
I'm saying if you want.
Yeah. I can, because that money can be used for anything.
It's yours.
You guys obviously seen, I think last year, I did exactly the same thing. So my wife and my mother-in-law, went, they basically traveled through Europe. For about maybe six or so countries or so. So we financed that particular trip, literally using some of the mechanisms that we have. Because if it's quite expensive to travel to Europe. When my wife and my mother, when I could afford to make that particular opportunity available for them, I knew that this is really what money is about. So many people today, right, can never become rich until they've dealt with that debt consciousness, right? We are not conscientized well where debt is concerned. But guys, and we sleep well. So I think, the problem we're having in our black culture is that we've seen people, dying because they had a credit card debt or clothing debts. Nobody taught them that you can't run. I know you can't run your business. I know that I can't run the one I'm running without the facility of the bank, which is really a certain amount of money. We basically need over 10 million or so just of facility every single month to run the businesses that we run. So what the story that the rich people have not told us.
In 5 years, if I can have like $1 billion in debt, I can be happy.
I want 100 million. Yeah. For me, it's 100 million. If it's 100, then I'll be fine.
Now if I get $1 billion in debt,
then you're fine.
I'll be happy.
So because already you can tell. Now, let me tell you guys this. You can tell already by the kind of problems that you want, what kind of game is playing, right? Everybody else knows that I wanted to be at this particular place. I talked about it for so long. I've wanted to be like, the Mdaka millionaire stage, like where it's like 10 million. You don't know whether you've got money or it's small, but it's not really a lot of money. It's not really small. But the Mdaka millionaire status has always been the thing that I talk a lot about. I talk a lot about, that 10 million rent, because anybody else, the minute you get to the 10 million problems, you can play the 100 million game, right? That's where the 10x come in. If you've got 100 million, the minute you start playing at that level, you can easily play the billion rand game. So for me, it has always been, understand the game that you're playing. Guys, life is not a battle, right? If you think that life is a battle, I'm telling you, you will fight all the time. But life is a game.
But you collaborate as well, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So with some deals that you can't necessarily do on your own, don't you have people that you collaborate and partner with on certain deals? You spoke about a hotel.
Yeah. So no, so if we play at that level, you definitely need you basically need a lot. You need a lot more people, and that also takes skill as well. Taking money from other people, right? To come and invest in your deals, or speak, or literally influencing, or showing them that this is a feasible business idea or whatever. Right, that takes skill. So what I'm saying, I think what I'm trying to basically say is, it's key that we really understand that game. And I think the game that we don't understand is the money game of it. Right? I say everybody, make sure that you've got an accountant in your life. Make sure that you've got an attorney in your life, right? Make sure that you basically have got somebody who's a people's person. You know those people that can connect you to anybody. Like they're like
like me. So you must have me. You need me in your life.
Yeah, you need that.
So we've got 5 minutes left. We want to open up the questions to the audience. Is there anyone who would like to ask a question to Mr. Jonas? Noted, sir. I see a hand there. I see another one here, another one. So it's 4 questions. Okay. Are you guys fine, by the way? Are you okay? All right. Well, it's my job to make sure you're fine. The floor is yours, coach.
Okay.
3 questions: positive arbitrage, tax implications, overcapitalization, 3 best options to get into the property industry, and student accommodation. How do you deal with the tax?
Yeah. So I think let me start with the question on the positive arbitrage. So this is something that is very, very important. Every money that you borrow, right? Every money that you borrow, anybody that borrows you that particular money, forgoes utility, and as a result, they will obviously charge you interest, and as far as that is concerned. Right. So when we're looking at these facilities, we're looking at the facilities that I've just explained right now. In the home loan, I get it for 11.5%. But now this 11.5% that I'm now getting, because there's a property, there's basically a collateral, there's rather an asset that is now tied with with this. What Witness was saying a little bit earlier is if I can basically get the bank's money at 11.5%. But I now have a business, that sells, let's say, a product, with 20% margin, for an example, or maybe 25% margin, whatever the case basically might be, right? If the bank's money, the 11.5% that I'm making from the bank, can now make me 20%, or it can make me 25%. Right? That is now where that's basically what we refer to as positive arbitrage. In other words, I can take money from a cheaper facility, and go and use it somewhere else where I can actually just make more, just basically make more money, right? So a lot of the businesses that we are funding, because businesses cannot be funded by, the bank is quite hesitant to fund businesses. Right. But a lot of us basically go and look at our assets and say, no, let's basically look at what we can do. Can I get money cheaper so that I can basically go and turn that and make it a little bit more, lucrative.
Next one, overcapitalization.
Yeah, so overcapitalization it depends on on the markets that you are in. If you if you're in Bloemfontein, for an example, right? If you look at it in an area like Willows, for an example, and where the student accommodations basically are, and we do a lot of that. If you are investing with the hope that someday there's going to be like some appreciation at one point, then you're doing it blindly. Right, you're basically doing it wrong. So what happens is the area where you are investing will tell you a lot. Whether you should be looking at Thapelo will tell you the only thing I'm looking at is, right, can we cash flow from this particular deal from day one? If we're not cash flowing, then we basically have got a problem. So a lot of, I think that comes from, when I'm building in an area, I'm going to make an example right now. My banker told me, many years ago, and says, okay, you live in Langenhoven Park. There's no house in Langenhoven Park at that time. There's no house in Langenhoven Park that's more than 3 million. There's no house that's more than 3 million in Langenhoven Park. This is now, the people that are in Bloom will understand. This is what the banker, my banker said to me. There's no house here that is more than this thing. You buy a house for 1.3 or 1.5 million, and you go like, I'm not going to let me put 2 million rands of renovations on this thing. Like, let me go put 2 million rands of renovations. And you go, like, then you put in 2 million rands of renovations on this thing, and you're hoping, now I'm definitely going to go make, when they basically come and appraise, it's going to be 4 million. This house is 4 million. And then you come back and they give you a free evaluation. The bank comes and says to you, bro, it's good. Your house looks beautiful. Oh, it's nice. Right. But this particular house is, it's now kept at 2.8 million, because that's really the value of the properties around that. So what happens is this, and this is the part that most people really don't understand, right? Is when you're doing renovations on your they must become significant, right? They must become, one of the things that is very, very important is, don't do things that you don't need, or things that really, if your plan is to sell that property at one point in time, understand what the market really wants, right? When they get into a kitchen, your kitchen must really be modern. When they get into a bathroom, it must really have this modern look, and whatever the case basically might be. So again, it really comes back to what is it that you want to do with that particular property, right? I say this all the time, and I'm saying this because when I buy properties, I don't buy to sell. I buy and hold, right? And I say this, and I say jokingly that your house must become it can be a liability, but it must not be liability BT man. You know what I mean? It mustn't be like liability BT man.
Three best options to get into the property space for entrepreneurs.
Yeah. So
not for the pastry people.
Yeah, for entrepreneurs.
For entrepreneurs.
Yeah. So for entrepreneurs, and I'm speaking again from Bloemfontein. I think when you talk about commercial property, this is basically where Witness would have more information with regards to that, because it's really not a space that I'm familiar with. But that's the new trend is Airbnb now. The Airbnb, it's actually a big thing. People don't come to Bloom and live in. And they want to go and sleep at hotels now. People are like, they are.
Yeah, we are in Airbnb now. We didn't go to a hotel.
Yeah, people are not sleeping at.
So if you had one, it'd be at yours.
Yeah, But what is happening is, so that's the trend. It's really where the trend is at. But also that requires you to be to have a certain certain eye for detail, right? And that's one thing I'm very good at. One of the things I do, I love spaces. I love creating beautiful spaces. I just don't love, when I got into this particular hall over here, I saw a couple of mistakes. I'm like, I wouldn't have done that with my rack. I wouldn't have done that, So I'm the guy that looks at things, so Airbnb is for certain people. You can't, do it and you want to cut corners in terms of your budget. Like, you want to make sure that it basically looks good. And I'll speak about.
Coach, let's help a bit. Every market has got a target market. There's an entry level, mid level, high level. He's high level. He's thinking luxury.
Yeah, okay.
But the hotel vibes. But there are people who just want to sleep, man. They want a bed and a couch, and they want to sleep. Others want aesthetics. I see it's you.
No, so I was not thinking that I'm in the room with people that really don't care about those, right? No. But. So it's one thing to, and I've seen that. I've basically seen that the problem with. So my son has got I'm gonna go fast. I promise you, right? My son has got the Entrepreneurs Day this week at school. And so when they come back and we're doing calculations. They made 700 rand, right? One of his friends, basically made more money than that. It's asking the question like, what happened here? Why is that guy, made more money? And I said to him, son, one thing that I've always taught you when it comes to business is you must make sure that you are selling an expensive product. So what they did was they bought, I don't want to be in that space. I don't want to be in the space where I'm selling the room. I want to sell the experience. Right? So when you sell the experience, you are now investing at that particular level. So I really cannot, I don't know how to, again, we advise and we speak from our own experiences and what we basically do. But I love beautiful spaces. I tell you, if I visit your house and it's not, we're gonna have a problem. Like, I think we're gonna have a problem. I love beautiful spaces.
Remember when he said personal experiences? You must listen, take information, and this is what it's about, right? Take information, decipher it.
Yeah.
Look at your situation and say, where do I start? Remember, success means different things to different people. One person is a high income earner. The other person is starting. The other person is a billionaire. I had a guy in Botswana who says to me, he's got a R1 billion rand property. Billion pula property portfolio. Obviously, it's more than R1 billion. And he says to me, come through to Botswana, but I just want you to mentor my son. Sure. So we all have different things that we're looking for. The guy is not looking for me to mentor him in property. Yeah. But in fact, I didn't even need to mentor his son in property. That's the thing. He's got his dad.
Yeah.
But maybe it's more of a personality thing.
Yeah.
to say, I think my son can benefit from that thing.
Yeah.
So as coach is speaking, I'm realizing that obviously he will love that space, but understand that in business, there are different markets that you
Correct.
can serve.
Yes, sir.
The question is, which market is going to make the most sense to you? You know, always understand. And which market is going to make you money, by the way.
Yeah.
If you, and you can hear, he will do student accommodation, he will do an apartment that's 3.7, but he will not do an Airbnb that's cheap, for instance.
I can't.
You see that? But here is saying cash flow, here is saying students, here is saying high end.
Yeah.
So all of that is you say, I'm saying to you, apply your thinking, but ask yourself, what would work best for me based on my situation? Understand? Coach, last words. You and I can talk until tomorrow.
We can. But I think let's deal with that last question. And I know we are done. The question
that last question was tax implications.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tax is an important thing. You know, obviously if those properties are bought within a business, you know, you are, you know, you've got to pay that 27%. I think it's 27%, you know, of tax that you need to pay. A lot of the ones you would know, right? Including the one that we just finalized now recently, because I just sold one of my earlier properties. I basically sold it, and it was in my name, right? So what happens is when those properties are in your name, then you again, you need to make sure that you've got a very good relationship with your accountant, because you need to make sure that you are registered as a provisional taxpayer, because if you've got a job, right, your tax is already taken there already. Right. But now once you start having, there's more money that is basically coming in over here, right? You need to know exactly what that does. But the nice thing about it, and this is the part that is quite important. The nice thing about it is whatever I pay towards, a lot of, I love the stuff that we can deduct, that people don't really see. You see the 3.7 that we're basically talking about. But if I'm paying a property manager to manage this particular property, the rates and taxes, the levies, right? If I'm fixing this thing, there's something maintenance, there's something that I'm basically fixing over here. This become costs that I now can literally just deduct from the tax, like literally from the tax perspective. So what I said a little bit earlier was that because already I had income problems, right? We were already making, we're making there's basically a lot of money in terms of the businesses. I needed a place where I can deduct a lot of, basically there can be a lot of deductions. And this is now where property is. Because now, if I'm paying 2,800 of bond and 2,600 of that is interest, and then the other one is basically the principal amount, that 2.7, right? Plus the levies, plus this and this and this are things that I can deduct. They're now basically deducted from my taxable income. So on the other side, where I was supposed to pay SARS about 40,000, I don't have to pay them 40,000. Now they owe me 7. You're now seeing. So it's not that you're not paying tax. That tax is deferred, right? It's deferred to a future event when I come back and I sell it, and then they go like, okay, so there's something called capital gains tax. There's something that I need. So bottom line is, we buying properties for different reasons. I really, for me, it was really to deal with the income. I had an income problem. And that income problem, the only place where there's a lot of deductions. So as an employee right now, your only deductions is if I'm making contributions towards retirement, if I'm making contributions towards your medical aid, if I'm making contributions towards, so there are few things, not even a lot. There's only few things you can basically deduct. Not when you're a property investor. When you're a property investor, now the interest portion, if you've got your own residential property, any investment property, right, that you basically have after that, right, it changes, if you've got like if you're buying at maybe new establishment or new complexes, and you basically get to 5, there's like a new law that applies over there. But bottom line is, I love the tax benefits that property investment basically gives. So I don't view it as money coming into my pocket. I view it as, yes, it's money that comes into my pocket. I utilize it, but it becomes money that that I can literally, if in terms of reports, as long as I've got my paperwork is in place, I can literally just be okay and know it. The more of these things I buy, that's how the rich don't pay tax. The rich don't pay tax for that particular reason.
Awesome.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Coach, for coming through, for imparting knowledge to everybody that's here, everybody that's watching online. I personally appreciate it. I love the energy. I love the commitment to God, the commitment to society, the commitment to your family, the commitment to your business, and most importantly, the commitment to yourself.
Sure.
You know, my only prayer is that from here you just keep growing and impacting as many people as you can. Let's give him a round of applause. And lastly, I love the fact that in as much as you give advice, you still tell people go to an accountant. You still tell people go to an attorney, because it's important. Those people will know exactly what to do with one situation, isn't it? Because that's their daily work.
Yes, sir.
They look at those problems from a variety of people. There might be a client that you don't know that the accountant has had that had a similar problem to you. Then the accountant knows what to do with your situation. So always have professionals on your side. He talked about having a banker. You said your banker said, do not overcapitalize here. Meaning your banker knows the area. So he's the one that's going to say, nah, don't do it. You see, that's a professional. Your accountant is going to say, don't do it. Your attorney is going to say, do it, don't do it. Always have people around you that are going to add value, and it's professional services that you are willing to pay for. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so
really
much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And for those of you who are online, you are missing out because you didn't attend the It's More Than Just Money movement. But we had an amazing time. Click on that subscribe button, click on the notifications bell, and comment. Let us know where you're watching from. You could be watching from overseas, from myself and my team broadcasting from Sun Windmill Casino in Bloemfontein, Mangaung.
Yes, sir.
It's More Than Just Money. See you in the next episode.